Hello, I'm Genesis.
And I'm Justyce.
And welcome to the Youth Take podcast. Yeah. Today we have a special guest. Angel, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, guys. My name is Angel from the Bloc, Angel from the Bloc on TikTok and Instagram and also YouTube now. I'm a content creator that focuses on creating content about making people conscious about social issues as well as things like mental health, as I'm someone that is mentally disabled myself. And I'm also a native Austinite too, so I try to work a lot with organizations around Austin because this is my city and I love it and we need to take care of it.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're so
Yes.
excited to have you.
So happy to be here.
Thank you. So can you introduce yourself again, like kind of like what the work you do, where you're from, you know?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm born and raised in Austin. They call me a unicorn, right? Because, I mean, y'all can probably relate. Y'all were born here too, yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Born
yeah.
and
Born and raised.
Not a lot of people are these days. And I didn't even know that until I went to college, also in Austin. I went to the University of Texas, where I studied youth and community studies there because I knew that I wanted to work with youth, and I wanted to work with youth outside of the school system itself, but in other types of organizations like nonprofits. So I actually work with you guys. I'm not just here as a guest, but I am also a media fellow for Land Justice Community School. So I help you guys build this podcast. It's been so much fun. I was telling my friend on the ride over here that I genuinely think you guys are some of the coolest people in the world. Like, it's so awesome to be so young and be so dedicated to making change in your community. I can relate to that too. Been that way, like, my whole life. Went to a magnet program. That's what it was called. A magnet program in Austin called the Magnet for Humanities and Law at a school that used to be called Fulmore. Now it's Lively Middle School. But I went there downtown, and it really like got me to take like law seriously. We had like mock trial and stuff, and so we were investigating how to like be involved in justice. And then whenever I got into high school, in my senior year was 2020, and so that's when like the Black Lives Matter movement started, and I got really involved in like advocacy there, like directly with my community, not in like a nonprofit organization, like the conservation efforts that I had been in the past, like 4-H or Keep Austin Beautiful and stuff. I started really like getting into the grassroots stuff with my community at that time, and then I was just like hooked. So I went to college to kind of just study how nonprofits work and grassroots movements as well, especially focused on youth. And then after that, I worked in mental health care with youth. I worked as a behavioral technician working with kids with autism. And then I went on to be like a therapeutic childcare specialist working with kids that were in residential treatment for like some pretty severe mental health challenges. And now I work with you guys doing the Land Justice Community School podcast, and I also work at Dawa. I do their social media and marketing management because while I was doing all that stuff, I was also posting about it all the time on like Instagram and TikTok, and people seem to really like it. I did not have a strategy, was not doing it on purpose. I just like love oversharing. So I was talking all the time about the stuff that I was passionate about it, and people were really into it. And so it kind of helped me realize that I had a gift for content creation and that kind of stuff. So now I'm really targeting that lane of my life, the creative stuff, still trying to work with youth as I do it, but that's where I'm at now.
Thank you so much for sharing all about that.
You're welcome.
It was really interesting to hear all about that, like how you started.
Yeah.
We're now gonna go ahead and do some questions, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, totally.
So my first question is like, what's your history with community organizing? Like, how did you start?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was in like nonprofit organizations in my youth a lot, like especially ecological focused ones. That's like my earliest memories of like being in organizing spaces. My brother and my like parents were involved in a nonprofit in Austin called like Keep Austin Beautiful, and they did a lot of like park cleanups around the city. So I was always at like park cleanups as a kid, and it really gave me this sense of like responsibility for like the community around me. And so I was in that, and then I was also in organizations like 4-H in my youth at school, where it's like they taught us a lot about stewarding the land, taking care of your community, and we like had a lot of agricultural experience, like built a garden at our school. We even built like a goat pen at school and like took care of goats at school. It's actually like so crazy in Texan when I think about it, because like that was normal for me, but farms at school is like not as normal as it should be, I think. I think it's super cool. But that, even though it's not technically like community organizing, it was like after school programs that I was in, they really like gave me that sense of like collective responsibility from a young age. And then it was when I was like 17, like I said, during the like Black Lives Matter movement, that I started like grassroots organizing with my friends, basically, because I went to like just one protest at first, and then I noticed that like there was a lot of homeless people around where we were protesting, like outside of Austin Police Department, because it's right by I-35, and then under that bridge was like a huge camp, because this was before it was illegal to camp in Austin, right? And so now police can like just take people to jail just for having like a tent. But in 2020, it wasn't that extreme yet. So there was like camps that were outside where we were protesting every day. And I realized like, wait, like it's kind of messed up that we are out here organizing for something that's super important, but at the same time, it's like really negatively impacting these like homeless people that also need support really close by. Like we were genuinely like standing outside the police station screaming at the cops on this side, and then like if you look to your right, there's a ton of people that are like starving, super hot, and like they're not really getting any help. And now on top of that, the place that they live is like full of people that are screaming every day. So I felt really bad about that. I felt like the work we were doing as far as like disruptive action against law enforcement, I felt like that was really important, but also that we should be making sure that we're taking care of the people in that space as we're doing it. And like that's their home, the home that they had, even though it's just like under the bridge. So since it was quarantine, like I just called upon my friends, if they had like extra food, like give it to me, because a lot of people were getting like food from school at that time. Since we didn't have school, they were just giving it out to people's houses. It's like, give me all your food, and also like give me money, because I'm gonna be out there like all the time. And it was crazy because people actually like gave a lot. Like I was expecting for people to maybe give me like $40 or something, and to figure out how to get food and water with that. But it ended up like being monthly for that whole summer, between like $400 or maybe like $600 that people were sending me and my friends, just from me like posting on Snapchat, like, hey, we're gonna be outside at this time for a long time. You should send me money. I was just like convincing people basically just off of story posts and that kind of stuff. And I didn't even realize like at that age that me and my friends were grassroots organizing, because it was like me being 17, my friends also being 17 or 18, and we just saw a problem like that we're really being a nuisance to these homeless people, and figured like, oh, we can fix it by like bringing them food, bringing them water, bringing them the stuff that they need, so that we're not like taking over their space without also respecting them. So I did that, but after that, it kind of like died down for me because I started college, so I didn't have as much time to be that invested. But I was involved in organizations at my school, like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their names, but there was a lot of like disability advocacy that I did at my school with different organizations, just because I was studying like special education and educational psychology. So I was in like stuttering awareness organizations and also accessibility awareness organizations, and doing stuff like that around campus. And then when I got out of college, I started organizing with an organization called Dare to Struggle in Austin. They're super radical, and they also do a lot of like disruptive community engagement again, but also what I really loved about them is that they did a lot of community building stuff. So I would go out with them and just like knock on people's doors and ask them about like the police brutality that they were witnessing in their neighborhood, or like any type of violence in general, just to collect information and then host like tribunals for the community almost, where they could all come together to talk about these things. That was super cool, but just like with college, like just work kept getting in the way. So I kept thinking like, okay, how can I balance that? And my conclusion was like, I can make that my work. If I'm finding that my job is getting in the way too much, or my school, of me being able to like advocate the way I want to, just turn that into my job. So I got the opportunity to work at DAWA, and I was like, that's it, because what DAWA does is a lot of community support in the form of like grants and stuff like that, micro grants for different givers in the community, and also holding like a physical space for other organizations to do the work that they do. So then I started working here, started working with you guys to help you do your advocacy, and that's basically my whole advocacy timeline so far.
Wow. Do you enjoy the work that you're doing right now?
I love it so much. I really, really like being able to take the things that I am really good at and use them for advocacy. Because I feel like something that I struggled with whenever I was organizing like with Dare to Struggle, or even when I was organizing with my friends, you know, as a 17-year-old, something that I struggled with is that I thought that disruptive action, which is basically just like, you know, going out into the street, protesting, making a lot of noise, those type of demonstrations, I kind of thought that was the only way to do community advocacy. And that is probably like one of the most exhausting ways to do it. You know, like it's really important, but if you're doing that like every single day, that's a lot, you know? And so I would get drained, or I would feel like it's not really something I can do long term. And then I kind of realized that I can take all of the things that I'm really good at, like being creative or convincing people of things, really, like with the content that I make, like convincing people on Snapchat to send me money, or even just like educating people, which is what I went to school for. Like I can use those things that I like to do as a way to do the advocacy. So I really like what I do now because I feel like it really lets that happen.
Thank you so much for sharing on about that. I have another question.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever you organized events with your friends, what's something that you like about it? And, like, what's something about it that you like about it right now? When saying, like, oh, this event is here, or, like, when you came to our event. Like, what do you enjoy about it the most?
What I enjoy most, and when you say your event, you mean, like, y'all's workshop, right?
Yes.
What I enjoy most is the, like, bond that you can build with people when you organize with them. I don't talk to a lot of the friends that I had like super often that I was organizing with when I was 17, but boy did we get so close in that summer just because we were working so hard together towards a shared goal, and we'll like always have that now. So even though we're not super close, we still have that like part of us that will like always be bonded in like solidarity, you know, like having this shared vision of something that's super important to us. And so that's what I really liked about being at y'all's workshop too, is that when you're organizing with people that you're like friends with or whatever, you know, you get to really like almost take that friendship to the next level and take your understanding for each other to the next level. Like you guys, I wouldn't call you guys like friends because we don't like know each other that well. We're still getting to know each other. I would say honestly that we're comrades, right? Which is just like a word that people will use a lot for people that have that solidarity and that shared goal. And I almost think that like being comrades is like a tier above being friends, because I don't have to be like friends with you guys and know you guys really well to know that like you guys care about something that is super important. And through watching you care about it and supporting you in that, we get to build that friendship too. So it almost enhances the collaboration that we get to have when it's like people that you start to know personally and respect. It makes it more like alive, if that makes any sense. Because I feel like we can get really strict, you know, about like what organizing is supposed to be like. Like it's supposed to be so serious and it is supposed to be like dire, like we need to do this right now. But then when you start to connect to people like personally and build that type of like friendship with them, then it becomes like something that's more sustainable for your life, because it's like it's regenerative. Like that's something you guys talked about in your workshop, right? How that's a really important way for our activism to go, to where it's like pouring back into people. And if you don't have friends with you when you're doing your organizing, it's like taking a lot of energy from you, but it's not giving anything back. When you start to like build those friendships with people, like it's taking energy from you, right, to like make that workshop happen, to teach us. But then it's also giving back to you, because the people that you're teaching are people that you know, people that you care about, people that care about you. So it becomes more of that circular process rather than going one direction.
Yeah, I like what you said, because, like, whenever we did the workshop, I feel, like, more connected to y'all. Like, oh, like, they have something to say. They also know that this is very important to speak on about. Like, when I saw you guys' group, like, I feel like, we're all, like, in this together, you know? Like, we're all, like, doing our best to, like, share information, to help each other.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I really liked about the workshop that you guys had, is that it wasn't very like one directional, like I know about this thing, I'm going to tell you all about it. But it was going both ways, you know, like you were getting a lot of information from us. I feel like even though you guys were leading this workshop that you did, teaching us about just transitions, we were all learning about each other and about different experiences in Austin. And it was just such a cool experience. I loved it.
Thank you for sharing so much about our questions. So
I love them.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to ask you a little bit about like your kind of come up on social media, and kind of like how did you start making content, and like what motivates you to continue to make? content?
Yeah, okay. Well, my first viral video ever, funnily enough, was not serious at all. Like the way that I started with content was genuinely like COVID, being locked inside of my house, and like just that being the only way to connect with people really at the time, because we literally weren't allowed to do anything else. And so my first viral video ever was actually just like me fighting myself, because TikTok at the time had like the feature where you could like clone yourself. And so I like cloned myself to like fight me. And it was just like me having fun in my backyard. But then I'm also seeing all this stuff happening, right, about George Floyd and like the riots that are taking place and all of this, and like especially as like a Black person myself who has like already witnessed like police brutality in my lifetime, just like here in Austin, I was feeling it like really deeply. I think like most people were. And so I got like maybe like 10,000 followers off of that video of me fighting myself, because it went pretty viral. Like it had like 5 million views, so a lot of people followed me from it. It was crazy. Like I was like, oh wow, okay, cool, that's awesome. And so then I made another video where there was like this trend of people just doing like a lighter flick and then just like talking about something for a really long time. It was like a super random format, but I used that format to like do my little lighter flick. And then I just made it really serious. And I talked about how police brutality isn't something that we can just get rid of by trying to change the police per se, because the purpose of the police was to be brutal to people from the moment it started. So as long as the police exist as a thing, police brutality is also going to exist. And that video also exploded. And so I was like, wow, like you guys like listening to me talk about police brutality. But I also didn't have like the most healthy boundaries with social media. Like I said, it was when I was locked inside during COVID. So they had this little feature where you can like respond to people's comments on TikTok. I just started fighting like everybody. Because of course, there's so many people that's like, no, we need the police. Like, you know, like people have different beliefs. Or there's people that are just on the internet super mean. So I'm like this little like 17-year-old, I'm getting millions of views, and like a lot of those people are leaving comments that are like not nice to me. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I need to protect my peace. Like if people are saying unmean things, that's why I have the delete comment button. Like I don't have to deal with this. I did not have that when I was 17. So I was just like spending hours every day, like responding to like these mean comments from people. But doing that was kind of helping me build like my own understanding, because people would say things and I'm like, wait, well, how do I have an argument against that? And then I would like do some research about it, and then I would come back and I'd make another video, and it's like, well, like bully number 455, I actually looked it up, and like this, and this. So it was like, I was like teaching myself a lot about the history of policing, just so that I could like fight with people on the internet about it. But people really like, unfortunately, that drama and that type of dynamic. So it helped me grow a pretty big following after that. And I'm just so passionate about the topic that it's like I could genuinely talk about it all the time. Like I mean, it's been what, 6 years since then, and I'm still not tired of talking about police brutality. I still talk about it all the time. I even got a comment the other day on like a video that I had go viral about abolition, and someone like commented, they were like, this is such a 2020 conversation. And I was like, no, like we never, Black lives still matter. We never stopped caring about that. Yeah, it was crazy. Someone called it a 2020 conversation. I was like, oh my God. And it's like, that's why I'll keep making the content about it, because I don't want it to be like some sort of like popular wave thing that goes away. Like, no, it should never go away. So that's what really motivates me to talk about it all the time, especially because everybody's at like a different stage and understanding about it too. So it's not like it's ever gonna be a point where everybody already knows and we're all on the same page, because a lot of people are really racist. Everybody's raised to think that the police are a really great thing, you know? So there's always gonna be a large group of people where I could say the same thing over and over again and like they're hearing it for the first time. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna keep talking about it. And I also talk about like my mental health on there too, just because like mental health and incarceration are so deeply connected. So like all of those things I think are things that affect everybody. So because they affect everybody and not everybody's on the same page, that's what like motivates me to just like never shut up about it.
Yeah, and also like, what do you want people to take away from your content? Like when you make your videos, like what do you want people to like leave thinking about?
Honestly, I just want people to like leave thinking. You know, when I went to my undergraduate program in like youth and community studies at UT, it was really focused on like educating people. It was preparing people to be educators or to work with youth in like another way. But the bottom line was like understanding how people's brains work and how to teach them things. And something that I got introduced to actually was like Paulo Freire, who is, he's a communist, yay, but he is a theorist, right? And he was also an educator. So he wrote this book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which basically is talking about how you teach children in a way that liberates them rather than in a way that makes them know what you know. Because if we just teach everybody to know what we know, then it's like we can't get any better than that then. That keeps like where we're at right now as the standard, and it just repeats over and over, which is kind of what we have happening right now, right? Where a lot of educators, they'll come into the classroom and they'll tell you what Paulo Freire calls like a banking model of education, where he tells you like, I know this, I'm gonna tell you this, you're gonna prove to me that you know this, and now you know this, through like a test or something, right? And that's how most of our education goes, but what he suggests is that we use something called problem-posing education, where it's like, instead of saying, I know this, I'm gonna tell you this, and now you know, it's saying like, here's a problem that we have. Here's what I think about the problem. What do you think about the problem? We work together and we look for a solution. And so it's never the case that like one person is the teacher and one person is the student. Student learns from the teacher because they understand that like they have more experience in it, but then like the teacher also learns from the student because the student has a unique perspective. Every single person does. So I like to try to take that approach with my content, where it's like, I want to bring up a problem. I want to talk about what I understand about the problem. And I just want people to take how I understand the problem, critically think about it, think about how they understand it now. Honestly, like it's come to the point where as long as people are being respectful, like I really welcome people like arguing with me or debating things and debating ideas, because it's like that's how our ideas get better, my ideas and theirs. So I just really want people to just like think about things that they haven't considered before. Like when I just see people comment things like, wow, I never thought about that before. Best comment I could ever ask for, honestly. Like that's what I want, is for people to just continue to think about things. Because I don't think that I'm going to like convince every single person to become an abolitionist. I don't think I'm going to convince every single person to like totally change their mind frame. But I can convince people to like think about it. So that's all I want.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do you think that social media like brings like communities together or kind of like pushes them apart?
I think that it definitely does both. Absolutely does both. I think what social media is like a blank slate tool, and where it goes depends on really like how people are using it. I think that a lot of people really appreciate when things are negative, because that's really exciting to your mind, you know? So unfortunately, a lot of people fall into the side of it pulling people apart. I think that is on the behalf of like social media taking advantage of like how we work as humans. So when you're kind of using social media mindlessly without thinking about what you're doing on it, I think it can really take advantage of everybody's tendency to like get excited about something that's controversial and get hooked on it. But I also think that we can teach ourselves how to be more conscious about the way that we're using social media. Like it's hard, like you have to make choices. But when you do it that way, it can be something that brings people together. I think about like being a autistic creator, right? And somebody that also has like PTSD and like all these other mental health challenges. I have struggled with like addiction and all that other stuff. And I'll talk about that. And when I talk about things like that, it really has the bring people together effect, because that's not something that a lot of people talk about openly. So if I talk about it openly, it helps people feel less alone. And then I have like a whole comment section of people being like, hey, like I struggle with this too. And then it turns into people having like, even if it's just like internet friends, a community of other people that also share the struggles they do and understand them. But then when I talk about other things that are more controversial, like abolition and stuff like that, I definitely see it be much more divisive. So I really think it is dependent on how the person wants to use it, but there are things that we can do to try to use it better. Kind of like how I told you guys about like the digital gardening, you know, like trying to intentionally look at things as if they are opportunities for us to learn, as opposed to just like opportunities for entertainment. That's not super fun though. So not everybody wants to do that, but I think there's like little things like that we can do to turn it around, you know?
Yeah. My last question for you about like social media is like, what are some lessons that you've learned from like being on social media?
I think that the biggest lesson that I've learned from being on social media is especially in terms of like advocating on social media, is that every individual is like a different version of you. And if you don't treat people that way, you're not going to like progress and reach understanding. Because I think it's really easy for us to not put ourselves in other people's shoes. And if we have an understanding about something that someone else doesn't have, especially like politically, when it comes to advocacy, to like just dog on them and put them down. And I've learned that like I've made content before where I'm dogging on people. Like when I was 17, I used to do that all the time. Like somebody disagrees with me, I'm making a video, I'm like, you're stupid. How do you not understand this? Blah, blah, blah. And like explain it to them. But that type of explanation, it doesn't make people feel safe to learn. It just makes people feel defensive.
Yeah.
And so now I take more of an approach where I look at it as like, I can see why you might get to a place where you think that. I understand that. Here's why I think otherwise, or here's why I think you would appreciate changing your mind and why that would probably be helpful to you. It's much harder, I think, to position things in that way, right? Because you have to take your ego out of it, that whole like, I'm right, you're wrong. But when you do, people are way more likely to listen to what you're saying and not be so defensive. So I think that's probably like the most important lesson that I've taken away from it. After fighting like thousands of people.
I also kind of want to like backtrack because you said like some of your first videos that blew up were talking about like police brutality and all kind of all that stuff, and I kind of wanted to get your take on the law like in Austin where the police budget cannot be decreased.
Yeah, I just recently learned about that with you guys, and I think it is probably one of the most like evil things that could have ever possibly come out of all of the protests that went on, because that was kind of a justification for it, that it was a response to that to prevent the police from being defunded. I think that it is honestly unbelievable that their budget can only go up, because that kind of goes against like what policing is even supposed to mean, right? Like it's super backwards, because the idea is that police are supposed to like keep us safe from violence and ideally like create less violence.
Yeah.
And so like if that's the point of the police, then why do you have to give them more money every year, right? Like if it was working the way that it was supposed to, you would think that if they're actually effective, that they would need like the same amount of money or maybe even less, because there should be like less crime. If we have them and they have so much money, it should be actually fixing things, but it's not. So I think it's just like a blatant show for people that really look into it that that's not what the police are for. It's honestly really frustrating, because things like education and healthcare are like not getting the money they deserve, while those other institutions are only getting more. It makes me like really disappointed in my city, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because like you said, like other things that need money and attention, like school, like especially like budgets, it's getting less and less because of the police like budget. I think it's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, like something you guys talked about last episode was like how hard it is for you because you haven't had a lot of teachers, literally teachers, because education is being defunded. So many schools in Austin just had to like close down because they're saying that they don't have the funding to like keep these schools open, and now teachers are forced to have classrooms that are like way too packed. And it's not like we don't have the money. We do. We're just giving it to institutions like policing that don't actually, like, on paper, like when you just look at crime statistics, they don't make us safer. We don't have less homicide taking place. We don't have less instances of assault. We don't have less instances of like robberies and things like that. All of these like violent instances of harm to people, they don't go down when you give police more money. But they do go down when people have higher education, like people that have degrees and things like that, less likely to commit crimes or be like charged with crimes, right? Or people that have access to healthcare, people that have access to food. Like when people have all these things, they do the less crime, but we're not giving money to those things. So it's just so like
so irritating.
Yes.
irritating is definitely the word.
So like speaking about that, like the fundings, there's Safe Austin, right? That helps with people who go through sexual assault, and they help them out, right? But recently they have been defunded because obviously there's no funds. But where's that funds going to? Obviously the police. I want your take on that. Like, what do you think about that? Like how the funds are just going to the police and not like the people who actually need it to like to help others.
Yeah, I think that really goes to show how little our government actually cares about the victims of crime, you know, the survivors of crime. Because the justification for having the police all the time is like to keep us safe, to protect people, right? But then we have Stop Abuse for Everyone, SAFE, had something called Eloise House, which is like a forensic testing facility for people that have experienced like sexual assault. And the reason why Eloise House was so important, it was considered like the golden standard of healthcare for sexual assault survivors, because many people don't want to go to a hospital, because if you go to a hospital ER, it's not dedicated to just people that have experienced that. It's for everybody that has gone through anything. And so they're not really trauma sensitive. Like if somebody had experienced something, and let's say like the person that like attacked them was just like a big man. You know, you go somewhere like Eloise House, you can tell them that they're a smaller place. They'll make sure that nobody that like looks like the person that hurt you is there, because they understand like if you go through something really hard like that and you see somebody that looks like that, that'll trigger you and make you feel really scared. So they'll take those types of steps. And ER can't do that. Like literally they cannot do that. Right? Or make sure that like the police aren't there, because some people are intimidated by the police. And ER can't do that. And ER, if you want to report, like the police being there is typically part of the process. And we have rights, like we can request that the police aren't there, but a lot of people don't know that. And in the ER, they have so much stuff going on all the time that they don't really have the time to like give you an in-depth explanation of all your options, all your rights. They could do that at Eloise House. So it was considered like the highest standard and one of the most effective things that we could do to like keep people safe after they've already experienced this, to like help them feel safe and support them in recovering. And the city just got rid of it. And so now, if you experience that, you don't have any choices. You have to go to the hospital. And we already know from the people that research it that survivors don't want to do that. They don't like that. It's not tailored to supporting them. So I think it just kind of shows that all of the talk about like wanting to support survivors and keep people safe, that's just that's a lie. If it were true, programs like that actually did the work of keep people safe, they wouldn't be defunded. They wouldn't go away.
Yeah, and it sucks because, like, a lot of people, like, trust these organizations, but without, like, the funds, like, how are they going to be more comfortable in their own spaces?
And there's a lot of other stuff, too, speaking of, like, that trust that people, that SAFE offers, right? They have a lot of other programs that, like, beyond trust, like, are lifelines for people. You know, like, they have domestic violence shelters for families, including like children. They do education for the children and childcare, and even like those facilities are at risk of being closed now too, because they're trying to reduce the budget so much that SAFE has from the city. So like not even just trust in like being able to get a certain type of health care, but even that care that they need afterwards, you know, having a safe place to live even is something that's now at risk for a lot of people in Austin, and it's really sad.
Thank you for sharing on about that. Did you know that the rate of suicide is mostly among African Americans and not like other races? Like it's more higher for African Americans. And recently with the budget cuts, they're like the Harvest Trauma Center is also being affected by that because they haven't gotten their funding. So like what's your take on that? Like with somebody helping out?
Yeah, I did work in mental health care for quite some time. Like I said, I was working in mental health care specifically in foster care most recently. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a disproportionate amount of kids in foster care that are Black. Like Black children are way more likely to be in foster care than any other race of kids. Native American children, very close, but like they're basically neck and neck. And what comes with being in foster care is a lot of mental health problems. What comes with being incarcerated, which Black people are more likely to experience that too, is a lot of mental health problems. People that have been to jail are, I believe, like, I don't want to butcher the numbers, but multiple times more likely than other people that haven't been in prison to have disorders like PTSD, right? So our mental health is deeply connected to our race because of the experiences that certain races of people are subjected to. So while it's like really unfortunate, I do think it makes a lot of sense that Black people in Texas are like the most likely to die by or attempt suicide. I think it makes a lot of sense because the state of Texas and even cities like Austin, they're not doing a lot to support these people and the experiences that they're having. You know, like so many people are being pushed out of like East Austin, and their families are being separated like physically because people can't afford to live in the city anymore. That's harmful to your mental health. Black kids are having their schools getting closed down. They're losing their connections to their teachers. That affects your mental health. And again, they're more likely to be incarcerated. So I think it's really heartbreaking that the programs that we have that are trying to tend to this wound, that they're being shut down like this. I do think that it is just like a continuation of the racism that we've always had to deal with in this country. This is just like what it looks like in modern day now, because we aren't, unfortunately, like organized enough to have our structural resistance against it. So that's why it's really important to me to like work places like DAWA, because it provides like a creative space for people, which is helpful for your mental health. We host cultural events, which there's research that says that attending even just like one cultural event every single month can lower your risk of depression. But cultural events aren't often something that's accessible because they cost money. So I really love that DAWA does a lot of work to have these things for free or very low cost, but DAWA also relies on funding from like the city. So all of these structures that we're building, they're really at risk when we rely on the city, which I think is why it's really important to build more grassroots approaches. It's something DAWA does do with like our membership, right? It's just not all of our funding, but getting the people to have that power and create those systems and support them without the state, because as long as the state's involved, they can and will like cut the cord whenever people are thriving too much, because that's not their goal.
Thank you so much for sharing about that, because like with all this like budget going to the police, like how are people going to be comfortable?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing about that.
Yeah.
And we have some questions about the Just Transition that you attended.
Yay.
So do you think you learned more during the workshop? Like,
yeah, I definitely think I did, and it sparked a seed of me like wanting to look into it even more. I had never heard of a Just Transition before I came to y'all's workshop, so it was my first introduction to it, period. And I am a little slower with learning things, so I definitely went home and like Googled more, because like just one like little workshop wasn't enough for me to like get it. But it definitely started turning my gears about what a Just Transition is and how we can make that happen. I'm gonna try to like repeat what I think it is actually to prove that I learned something. A just transition is like the idea that we need to transition away from like an exploitative capitalist system of existence towards a regenerative system that supports everybody's well-being, and there's a bunch of certain steps and principles that have to be followed to get there, and I don't remember them, but I remember there's like 6 of them.
no, you did good.
Yay! I learned. Y'all taught me.
Yes, we're so proud. Cause like that's what we kind of want to do. We want to teach more people, you know, like cause like we recently learned it too, like in the beginning of the summer. So like us teaching it to other people is kind of like, you know, like a whole circle moment. Like, oh, we learned about
It's
this.
great.
Teach other people.
Yeah, we're happy that you learned something.
It was so much fun.
Yes,
it really
we
was.
were actually really like kind of nervous because we were practicing it and we're like, we're gonna be in small groups.
Could not tell.
Yeah. And honestly, like being in like, cause you were in my like small group, I liked it, and like everyone in the group like participated and kind of got to like talk about it. Like I like that we got to hear y'all's input while also like sharing ours.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. Another question is, do you have like any ideas for the future to bring more youth?
Yeah, I think honestly the best thing I could recommend to you guys to bring more people into it is like persistence, and I don't have a better word for it, but being annoying about it. You know, like my roommate, she just told me that she was gonna start like going to a communist book club, and this roommate has been my friend since I was in middle school, and I nearly like shed a tear, you know, because I was just so like, wow, because I talk her ear off about these social things all the time. And most of the time, she probably doesn't really understand what I'm talking about, but she listens because she's my friend and she has to, you know? And so I think the best thing that you guys can do is like not letting your workshop or your passion for advocacy be like an isolated thing that you just do with like your advocacy people, but something that you talk to your friends about all the time, like whenever it's relevant, you know, like bring it up being like that woke friend that like ruins the vibe or whatever. I don't care if people think it's annoying. It's important, you know. And if you do that in your close relationships with people,
they're more likely to come into it because they already know you and they already have that trust with you, and it can almost be like a ripple effect, because then once they're in it, they can do the same thing, and then more people are in it, and it just continues to grow in that sense. So my biggest piece of advice would be to just like keep doing it, keep being persistent, because it's important to you, and I think that persistence and that effort, it'll definitely help you grow your workshops. And I think even for your first workshop, like the turnout was really, really good, really solid. We had like 4 or 3 full like small groups of people talking. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was a perfect workshop size, to be honest, because it could stay like intimate, you know, rather than feeling like that banking education that we were talking about earlier, where it's just one person at the front and everybody has to listen. It was enough people for everybody to have their opportunity to like be heard, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing about that.
And then also I wanted to ask, what ways can we get better, like when it comes to outreach? What do we have to do in order to like get a better turnout or like bigger turnout? Like, I mean, the audience was like, the amount of people that showed up for that workshop, it was good because it was like our first one. But like for future workshops, like what do we have to do? Like
I think the biggest thing that you can do to increase turnout in the future, and I'm gonna put my marketing hat on because I have a marketing job now. That's so crazy. I literally went to school like to teach, and now I work in marketing. So weird. But the biggest thing that you can do to get people to want to come, I think, is to share how it went. You know, like we took a lot of documentation, there's pictures and videos, and just sharing those pictures and videos, I think gives people an understanding of almost like what they're missing out on. You know, like if you share it to people after it's already happened, that gets people interested in the idea, like, wow, that thing looks so cool, that thing looked fun, when's the next one? You know, and so like I said, it's just a process of persistence and constantly like documenting it and telling that story of like, hey guys, this is how fun and cool it was to come and learn. Like, guys, they had a raffle, I didn't win anything, I'm really salty about it, but like it was really fun. We had good food, people got prizes, people that weren't me, but like we all got to learn in community. Some people got to win. I won learning a new thing, which is still a good prize. So it was like really cool. I really didn't know what to expect out of the workshop. I wanted to go because I know who you guys are, and I think that y'all are awesome. So that's why I really wanted to go. I know that a lot of other people came because, like I was saying earlier, like they had friends that were going. And so like having it grow in that social way in combination with like just showing people what it's like, I think will be really helpful to more people being involved in the future.
Because I like what you said earlier, like telling people about what you learned. Because that's what I kind of do with Justyce and my other friend, Genesis. Like, I was telling them about, like, oh, this, like, because this is my second year with Land Justice. So I was telling them, like, my first year, like, oh, yeah, I did all of this. I did the podcast. I went to barbecues. Like, I did all this stuff. So, like, I feel like me telling them, and then they also came to, like, obviously Justyce and Genesis, they came to the workshop. So it was kind of like a, like, you know, everybody was there, you know? And especially, like, you and everybody else, like, these are the people I know, like, you know? So
I think that's a beautiful way to build, because you're bringing the people that are already into your community into, like, a new kind of community, you know? So I'm always telling my friends, like, who wants to pull up to the protest? Who wants to go to the workshop? Like, I'm just always inviting my friends, even if I don't think they'll be interested, because, like, you never know when someone will be like, you know what, like, maybe they just had, like, a really boring day, and they're like, you know what, I'll be here. Like, my friend Autumn is literally hanging out on the couch over here, guys. You can't see them, but like I just told them, I was like, I'm doing this thing that's so cool. I got this new job I forgot to tell you about, but I'm a media fellow, and there's youth fellows, and they're so cool. Do you want to hang out? And I just offered, thinking that Autumn would be like, nah, I'm going home. But like they actually wanted to hang out and stay. So like now they're getting introduced to what we do. But I think that's a really nice and authentic way to grow a movement that really keeps people involved, because you already have that connection, you know?
Yeah. And I will say, like, Genesis, definitely, like, her kind of telling me about her experience, like, being with this, like, Land Justice Community School definitely made me interested and kind of want to do it, because at first, like, I would have never thought, like, oh, I'd be here doing all these fun, cool things, putting on a workshop this summer and, like, you know, learning about all different types of things. But thank you, Genesis. Yes. Yes, Genesis.
Yeah, because, like, this is fun, like, even the podcast, you know, because you get to talk to, like, new people. Like, for example, you know, like, it's really, like, fun. Like,
I think
people's stories.
I think that is such a like key thing to our movement that is really like missing. I think our generations, I'm gonna include myself with you guys even though I'm a little older, but I think our generations, like Gen Z, is getting a lot better at not being so serious. You know, because the things that we are fighting for, they are so serious, right? They are so very important. But what is also important is like living and enjoying the life that we already have, because it's the only one we get. And as much as we would all like to say like that everything can be fixed right now in our lifetime, people have been fighting for so long for the things that we're fighting for. And I think for us to think that like we're so much better at it than them, that it would happen right now for us is like crazy, okay? The fact that people, like especially me as an abolitionist, people have been fighting for abolition since like the 1700s, 1800s. For me to think that in my lifetime, my just one lifetime, that I'll do like more work than like 300, 400 years worth of people have done, that's ridiculous. So we do need to be able to like enjoy the life that we're having while we're doing the work, because the work is eternal. It's gonna keep going, but our lives aren't. So they can't just be work, 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 and nothing else. And the more that we can combine the work with the fun and the living, the more people do it all the time, instead of in these little short bursts where they're like, okay, and I went to the protest and now I'm done now because that was crazy and that was scary. Yeah. No, it can't just be that.
Yeah, and then I'll also ask you, like, what is one thing in your community that you think calls for a just transition?
One thing.
Multiple.
Okay, I think that the biggest thing in my community that calls for a just transition, obviously I've been talking about how much of an abolitionist I am. I'm gonna say, I don't even know how to say this word that well out loud, guys. Big word. Carcerality. You know, like the idea of prison and punishment, I think is something that needs a just transition. And I say carcerality versus like prison because that ties into like every aspect of our life, not just the prison system. And so that's one that I think that we can have the most power in a just transition in, because even the relationships that we have with other people, they follow that model, you know, like somebody does something like wrong to you, cut them off, never talk to them again, be super punishing, as opposed to like working it out, hearing the other person's side, trying to figure out a restorative way to solve that problem. We solve our problems most of the time in a really carceral way, where it's like, you do something I don't like, I have my boundary, forget about you, we're never gonna talk ever again. Or like in school, you know, you do something wrong, now you're suspended, or now you're an ISS, like you're isolated, you get kicked out of the group. Solving things in that way is not gonna bring us to a better space. So I think a just transition is needed there, because people deserve to have lives that are free of punishment for the sake of punishment. You know, people deserve to be able to live lives with good jobs. That's one of the principles that I remember now, that people, what is it called, like buen vida or something? The idea that people deserve to have lives like free of being exploited, free of being isolated. That is something that we can work towards in our own society, like on our own base level of people, you know, without the involvement of people above us. We can work on the way that we talk to each other, or the way that we like punish each other, or try to avoid that even. Definitely carcerality and punishment.
And is that one of the events you would like actually like go and make one?
Like, would I teach a workshop about that? Oh, I would. So, actually, that's my dream. Like, my brain just got so tingly and excited. I would love to teach people about that. I've actually been to workshops like that too. Yeah. You know, at Dalwa during South by Southwest earlier this year, we had someone named Richie Rasheda come, and his whole, like, well, not his whole job, he's a creative person, so he does like 7 to 8 things. It's hard for me to even keep track, but one of the things that he does is teach people these workshops about how to have something called accountability pods, where you have a group of people that you just meet with on a consistent basis, maybe a month or every week, and you just talk about what your goals are and how you're trying to grow as a person and how you're trying to grow for your community and what you're doing to get there. You talk about it with other people, and then this also becomes a space where if you're having problems, you talk about your problems with these people, so that we can all work towards, in a collective group, changing our ways, rather than a independent one where like all of the change is put on you and it's your job and it's your responsibility and it's not in community. Yeah, I would love to do a workshop that teaches people even just how to do that on like a basic level with like their friends, you know, because I love the term like ripple and ripple effects, but I really genuinely think that when it comes to change, it always has to start small and get bigger. Part of that is even like the work that I did with like autistic kids. I would work with kids that are nonverbal, and it's like we're not going in and we're starting with teaching them like how to make friends. Like, kid doesn't even like to talk that much. Like, first we start with how you communicate, now that you're communicating, we start with how you communicate to other people, and then we move on to like how you build friends. You know, like it has to build up. And so I think that teaching people how to just start with like the friendships that they have and making them really healthy and really accountable will turn into communities that are healthy and accountable, and then eventually communities that are safe without even having to rely on people like police.
Thank you so much for sharing all about that.
Yeah, thank
It's
you.
really important to hear. It's a good thing to like teach other people, make sure they learn something new, you know?
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things too, on top of teaching other people, is like being willing to learn from other people. Like I would love to do the workshop just because something that people ask me a lot is like, well, like, what's the solution then? If we abolish the police, what are we gonna do? And asking like just me as one person. And I'm like, guys, look, I know as one person that the police are pretty bad. Like we can all look at it and just be like, whoa, that's bad. But I don't think it should be on me as one person to find the solution. Like I have the solutions that I think are good, but I don't think my say should be the end all be all. I think we should all be talking about it together so we can all contribute to like this just transition. A just transition is not one 23-year-old with like a few 100,000 followers telling everybody like, this is the way. Like, no, that's not how we gotta do it. You know, we gotta do it together.
To like go off of that, like how do you think we can get like more youth involved?
I hate to say it, but like what we're doing right now, like being really online and like making it, it's so bad to say, but like making it trendy, making it cool, like that's how you get people to pay attention. Because I think, like I was saying earlier, the thing that we're missing from the movement is like fun, is enjoyment. It not being a fun and enjoyable thing is why so many youth, I think, don't go into these movements, because I think Gen Z has a pretty solid understanding of how like screwed we are, like socially, politically. I think that our generation is probably like one of the most aware of how bad things are because we have the internet, right? Because we have so much access to information. We all know it's bad. That's not the problem, is like a lack of awareness. But the problem is I think a lot of people take the perspective of like, well, everything's so bad that I might as well just like turn up right now and have a good time. A phrase that I even like to say is like, we're here for a good time, not a long time, you know, because like things are just so bad. Like we're having water bankruptcy, this El Nino that's coming has it literally the hottest it's ever been. It's like 120 degrees in India right now, 100 degrees in France. Like we know that we're cooked. And so a lot of people see that and they take the perspective of like, well, I might as well just have fun if we're already cooked. And so I think what's really important is showing people that like, we can know we're cooked, we can have fun, and that fun that we're having can help bring us towards where we're supposed to be. So just using things like podcasts that bring people awareness in a fun way, things like I do, like social media, I think that's how we get the youth to take it a step further. You know, like I don't think everything that we're doing right now is like the only thing. Like people really need to get out and like start physically doing stuff like in the real world. But I think that what we're doing right now and just like social media and like trends in general can be used as like a push to get people to start doing that, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean by like making it more trendy, like making it have more awareness, you know? So like where people actually want to try to do something about it.
Yeah, like something people will like make fun of me for a little bit is that like I'll talk about some like real serious stuff on like a TikTok trend, and people be like, oh my god, like why are you talking about like your like mental health problems and it's like a silly song, or like why are you talking about abolition and it's like this clip of an audio from like a reality TV show or something, like a Love Island clip, and like you're talking about abolition, like that's crazy. It's like, I know, but it's because if we take this too seriously all the time, like there's not like it shouldn't be serious. I make a lot of videos that are very serious, but like if we are only serious all the time, people are not gonna want that. Nobody wants a life that's that way all the time.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of like the trend on TikTok. It's like the trauma candy salad. You know what I'm talking about? That's what it kind of reminded me of, because a lot of people did that.
Yeah, I like literal trauma dump. They're dumping their trauma into the bowl. Yeah.
I have Reese's, and my dad's in jail, and then they'll put it.
Yeah, I do a trend like that and be like, I have Reese's, and I also have the understanding that being suspended from school makes kids like way more likely to go to prison in their future, and that the majority of kids in juvie have mental health problems, which means that it's just a place to put disabled people. Dump it in there, and people are like, oh my god. But the way that social media works, if you do those trends like that, it'll help you get that awareness, you know?
Yeah. You finished?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do hot takes.
Yes, hot takes.
Yay. Okay.
Thank you, Nelly.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Hot take. First hot take,
yes,
guys.
okay, so we have our hot takes. It's just some questions.
Can I get a little jar ASMR?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's see.
So basically, a hot take is kind of like what we ask the guest that we have on him. We pull out a hot take, a random one, whatever. We ask them the hot take about whatever.
Some questions, maybe about like your experience in Austin or kind of like whatever.
Or just some random ones.
Yeah, just random ones.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I'll get one long one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Okay. How do you feel about supporting local businesses in Austin, and what's your favorite one?
How do I feel about supporting local businesses? I love supporting local businesses in Austin. I really try to like shop local as much as I can. I think I'm really lucky because I live right now. Actually, I'm not gonna dox myself, but I do live in an area where there's a lot of small businesses close by, and I'm a bus commuter. So thankfully I have that accessibility, you know, which I know is not a thing a lot of people have, but I love supporting small. I will say my hot take about supporting small is like, it's so expensive sometimes, and it's like, dang guys, but you know, they have to live too. But I think my favorite small business to support at the moment is Lao Lao. It's a cafe, and it is just like one of my fave places to be. It's very, very like community centered. Like I work from home now, so I'll go there like pretty much every Monday, and it's genuinely like work from home day. Like you'll see all the same people in there all the time, and it's like, hey guys, what's happening? Everybody in there knows my name. It makes me feel horrible because I don't know theirs because I can't remember. But it's just really cool. I'm literally going to like a journaling workshop there in a couple days because they love to have like little community events. A lot of craft stuff, which I think is so cute. They have baked goods, you know, like a lot of cafes have, but all of their baked stuff is cottage law stuff. Do y'all know what that is? So what cottage law food is like in Texas, it's legal to like make food at your house and sell it. It just has to follow like certain standards or like be like small enough, you know, you can't sell too much. But basically they get like their stuff in like every day from like a local person in Austin that like made it at their crib. So I love like coming and getting like my little muffin or my cookies or whatever, knowing that like one of my neighbors like made that. It's so cool. And it'll make me mad because they'll only have like 5 of each thing, and sometimes I'll come and I'll watch the person in line in front of me get the last of something. I'm like, but a problem that I have is like always ordering the same thing. So it kind of like forces me to try something else. So it works out, but I love them.
Thank you for sharing on about that. That's so exciting. But I like how like Austin has a lot of like things to do, you know?
Yeah, it feels so Austin. They're not from Austin. I think they said that they moved from Minneapolis. I don't know if that's where they're originally from, the owners. It's a beautiful married couple. Like I know so much about them, but I can't remember their names. It's crazy. It feels so Austin to me to have a space where like people craft and like it's really small and it's like really cool, like with the cottage stuff. Love it. We need to have like a little hang there. We absolutely have to.
Okay, so moving on. Thank you so much for sharing. So my question that I pulled out was, what do people misunderstand most about community organizing?
What do they misunderstand about? People misunderstand a lot. That's why I'm struggling here, because I'm like, well, there's a lot to pick from. This genuinely could be a thesis, but I think that the thing that people misunderstand the most about community organizing, and I'm just gonna keep harping on this because this is something that I've already brought up multiple times this episode, but I think people misunderstand the most how serious community organizing needs to be. And the reason I say that's the thing that's misunderstood the most is because I think even community organizers misunderstand how serious it needs to be. Because I think when something is so deeply important to you, super understandable to feel like it's like do or die right now. So I don't fault anybody for feeling that way or having that perception of it, but I do think that that perception holds us back quite a bit. And the organizations and the community that really focuses on like their joy as a form of resistance and trying to enjoy and thrive as they're doing the work, I feel like those are the groups that are the most effective. So I think a lot of people, they don't get as involved as they should be because they fear like, I'm gonna have to be serious all the time. And then a lot of the organizers, they lose people because people get burnt out or people don't have capacity for the work anymore if the work is only ever like do or die. This is so dire right now. Like something I really liked about the Just Transition workshop is that we also did some mindfulness where we were like closing our eyes and envisioning what like a positive future looked like. And we were not just solely focused on like problem, but also focused on the possibility of solution. And I think even just focusing on that helps us realize like what good things we have right now and how we can take advantage of them and enjoy them. Like our plans didn't work out, but you know, like I was talking about how like in my perfect world, like the kids are playing in the creek and we're just having a good time in the water. And then the next day we were like, wait guys, like low key, we should go swim in the river like right now. And it's like having a movement where it's like you can be really serious, but you can also have a good time, I think is very effective and very possible. But people misunderstand that and take that as like people not taking things seriously, which is totally not. I think it's so serious that I think we need to have fun so that we can keep doing it every day, you know? I think one of the biggest parts about like bringing the fun into it is that it brings back care for one another. And like we were talking about with the just transition, like we're moving towards something that is regenerative. And I think about like caring about other people is like the most regenerative thing that you can do. And caring about other people includes encouraging them to have fun, encouraging them to not be so serious all the time, to step back, take a break, and take a breath, you know? People really just misunderstand the idea of what caring for other people looks like, because I think a lot of us get wrapped up in like advocacy as a like disruptive thing and a do or die thing right now. And that's not, I think I would even go as far to say like that's not caring about other people, because if that's all you do, if that's all that your movement is, you are only focusing on what's negative, which can like seriously negatively impact the organizer's mental health, everybody else in the community, because we're not taking the opportunity to like return care to each other and have fun. Being fun, having fun, that's the most caring thing you could do. Making other people laugh, like that keeps us alive, that keeps us healthy.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. Like, it's really important to talk about what really is organizing, you know, like having fun, but also like being with people.
Okay, I'll do a small one.
Small one? And these are made by Celine, the small ones.
Yeah, so if they're messy.
The Celine shade. Dylan, explode the you fellows right now.
Okay, so what has been your least favorite job to date?
Ooh, honestly, my least favorite job to date, that's crazy because I worked a lot of different jobs. My least favorite job to date was working at the children's place. That was like the first job that I ever had. Guys, the minimum wage in Texas is still $7. And when I tell y'all I got paid $8 an hour to work at the children's place, crumbs. Crumbs, I tell you. I was happy to have those crumbs because I was like 15 and not a lot of places even want to hire 15-year-olds. But I only worked there like 10 hours a week. So I was making, without taxes being taken out, $80 a week. And then they take out taxes and I get my bi-weekly paycheck and it's like $100. And when I tell y'all my feet hurt so bad because we weren't allowed to sit. Hello, there was like no chairs. I would work my 6-hour shift, and like even if we would like kneel on like something, like we would put like boxes behind there or something, try to kneel on them, we're in trouble. We also had to do like manual inventory like every 6 months where we counted every single thing in the store. It was horrible. We would literally be in there till like midnight, which now I know, I think it was legal for me to work up until midnight as a minor. You can't work past midnight, but I would actually be in there till 11:59, and then at 11:59, my manager would be like, clock out, clock out, clock out. So they're not breaking laws. And also, they had this like really cruddy like Disney music playlist that only had like 6 songs on it. And they would like follow me home. Like my shift would end and I'm at home and I'm singing like Teen Beach movie music and I'm like, no, I can't escape, I can't. I'm not gonna lie though, I really liked some of the accessories. So I'd use my discount to get like cute little hair clips and stuff. But yeah, no, it was super buns. It was so bad. I would never, working in retail is not for the weak. I have so much respect for retail workers, like, cause people just be so mean, especially people with like 3 babies. A tired mama with 3 babies walks in and something that she wants is not in the right corner and now she's mad at me and I'm 15. I was like, ah! It was bad. It was real bad. That was the worst.
Okay, so our last hot take is, what trend do you think is overhyped now? What trend?
Justyce, Celine, I'm so sorry, but I think Love Island
I agree with you.
I think Love Island is so overhyped
Yeah.
Celine says there's too many new fans, and apparently maybe the OG was good. I will say this, I'm hating from outside the club. I've genuinely never watched an episode of Love Island. I watched maybe like, actually I'm sorry, Autumn too, because Autumn's sitting over on the couch, and they also really like Love Island. I watched Love Island for the first time at Autumn's apartment, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, low-key I was like, whoa, like this is kind of crazy. If you look at it from the lens of a social experiment, I think it's really interesting. The reason I call it overhyped is because outside of like looking at it as like a sociological experiment, which it like definitely is, and it's really interesting to dissect it in that way, like just dissecting human interaction and psychology and all that stuff, that's cool. But I do also see it as like an opportunity for like all of the people that were like really mean in like high school to like decide who they're gonna like gang up on and bully. Like I don't even watch Love Island, and I get I've seen so many videos about this girl Kinsey and the clam slam and like all this stuff and like people making fun of her all the time, and I'm sure like I'm not gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure she probably buns. She probably sucks. But I just don't think that we need to encourage people to like make a trend out of making fun of somebody. Yeah. So that's why I would say it's overrated. If everybody was like super woke about it and was like, guys, here's the sociological interactions between them, and like here's who's in the manosphere, and like if people took it like seriously in that way, I'd be like, cool. But I do feel like I see most often people like bullying them, and it's like, all right. So it's not even really the show that I think is overhyped, but like the content that people make about the show that's overhyped, if that makes sense. So sorry.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Cause I'm like, I never seen it, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm just messy.
I do agree though. Like there's like a lot of like, I guess like negativity behind it, but like, I don't know.
You just like the messiness.
I do like the messiness. We're like,
it's interesting. It's like what we were talking about earlier about how like it is like arguably interesting to see conflict, so we like naturally gravitate towards that conflicting stuff, and like less people are going to be talking about like the science behind Love Island, because that's not as like interesting to most people's brain as like drama. You know, and so I'll admit, if I was like strapped to a chair against my will and forced to watch Love Island, I would probably like it. But out of like spite, and because I don't, what is it on Peacock?
Yeah.
Because I don't have Peacock, I'm not gonna watch it.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like, this is a very fun episode.
Yeah, it was such a good time,
Yeah.
guys.
Yes.
So great.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Dawa, for letting us, use this studio, this space, and guys, viewers over there, stay tuned. Continue watching our freaking episodes.
More aggressive.
Watch these episodes every time they come out on Land Justice Community School YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Use Take. Thank you.
We're the youth, and that was our take.
Period.
Thank you.